Okay, so we are October 30th. Happy Halloween. We are October 30th. This is an extra day this month, isn't it? Oh, okay, so we got an extra week for it. So the Facebook page is Logical Law of Attraction with Helen Racz. All of these 15-minute clips can be found there. We're loading this series on YouTube also, so I thought I would put that up there. Manifestation checklist. So last week we dove into forgiveness from the viewpoint of how that limits you. So the term most people are familiar with when you're talking manifestation is law of attraction. And yet I just don't think it's good when people say, how did I attract this? Because you don't actually attract in bad things or negative situations, right? And you never want to blame somebody going through a hard time. And then what's funny to me is those same people will never own the good stuff that they co-create. So it's just an odd mind glitch. So I think a better description for us to understand and utilize is that whatever is in your reality now is a match for your consciousness. And when I use the term consciousness, I mean the whole complicated kit and caboodle that is you. Meaning your memories, your thought patterns, your dominant emotional base, the unresolved emotions, what you've inherited, what you're perceiving in your culture, the way you tell your story, even to yourself. So all these things are going on. Then you add in, are you tired? Have you slept? Are you hungry? Are you eating a lot of junk? Is your body toxic? Are you fluid when you move? You know, there's all these things going on. So it all comes together to create a consciousness. Now, of course, you have some leeway in this, but basically, everything that you're experiencing consistently in life, people, situations, money, health, that all fits, or law of attraction, the vibrational fit for the consciousness you're in. So when you want to take proactive power and choose to co-create with the divine intelligence by picking and focusing on something you don't yet have. Now remember, you do this all the time. When you want a new job, when you want a certificate in study, when you want to plan a vacation, when you want to remodel, when you want to buy a house or move or a new car, you're doing it all the time. Where it gets tricky for us is when it's very personal and where you don't have the big support team. Right? So when you want to be proactive and do that, it's about getting the consciousness you're in to also expand out to let in more good. So most of it has to do with your stamina for being a vibrational match to more good than you currently have. Right? So if this is real tough, say you have a physical injury, right? If you have pain in one place, it is very, very hard to stay focused and expand your stamina for feeling good because the pain tends to be very distracting. And yet, if you focus only on the pain, only on what's wrong, you will never get well. It will just cascade from there. If you focus on how good you're going to feel once you get through it, or you invest in physical therapy or sling or hot rub or fascia work, whatever you need to invest in to help you focus on where you're going and support the physical manifestation and change. Right? So this is what we're talking about, and I always wanted a checklist, especially now because I tend to not be pain motivated. So it's actually really easy for me to get very, very present and just feel good and not participate very much in desire. And yet I believe personally that a great way to honor my Creator is to be a little more proactive and a little more engaged in expanding my capacity to receive and to give goodness, right? So that's where I want to play. And so I'm creating this list at the end of this class. I'll make it available for all of us, the students in here, and then I'll have a package available if people want to purchase it. It'll be video, audio, and a written transcript of this, so you can access it over and over. So the first clarity is about vibrational alignment. The first clarity is about getting your what, your why, and your vibrational alignment, getting your heart a little bit engaged, right? And then we talked a little bit about gratitude. We'll go into that some more too, just to keep reminding us you definitely want to expand that. I met someone today who's been seeking a long time for an answer to a physical issue. for their child. And bless the emissarians coming through the tapping, got a lot of information. A family pattern being repeated of a mother feeling inadequate and ineffective to create positive change. And I was like, it's not personal. You've not done this on purpose. It's like the freckles on my face. It's just a family pattern repeating. So the fastest way for her, after 3 years of investing a fortune in different modalities that have not given the results she was seeking, is to slow it down, to commit to the gratitude practice, and be in a state of receptivity. So after a while, as humans, we can get beat up by the disappointment. And then you're in a not having vibration so strongly that you can't get the help you're seeking, right? So if you're doing everything right, and you're not getting the result you want, you really want to start looking at what are the patterns vibrationally, right? So if you're just creating from a neutral place, nothing's going wrong, you really want to work on your clarity and make sure you engage your heart and your mind, right? Now, let me nag everybody again. That doesn't happen until you write it out. And preferably share it. You want to be so clear you can speak it. You can speak your what, your why, your how, and how you'll know you're successful. Not just one time when you write it, but consistently until you are that consciousness, right? And then, so I covered gratitude a little bit. So then alignment, I wanted to go more into. This is what I call the grunt work, or the right action. And here in alignment, I would always encourage you to run through your principle-based thoughts, right? So right action would be proactive. You're going to take action. Well, what action are you going to take? And what needs to go first? First things. Oops, I'm going to put first. So you want to be proactive. First things first, which is funny. That's the terminology from 7 Habits, which I always reference, because you can't really get your first things first till you have your what, which is your end in mind. And yet, when you're doing alignment, for every goal, every step that you create, you want to run through all 7 of the principles. What's your end in mind for that particular piece, for that segment of it, right? So you've got proactive, first things first, win-win. Again, you want to make sure that in win-win, it's a consciousness that whatever you're choosing in your life blesses more than just you. That'll keep you out of very limited, contracted thinking. And once you train your mind to start thinking that way, it gets a lot easier because you're supported. People love to be around other people that feel good, and they love to feel good. So people are naturally more attracted to people that have them feel good together, right? So when you start thinking that way and using that perspective in what you're choosing, everything goes faster and easier for you. And you don't feel alone in it. It's really important. If you're planning a wedding, there's a checklist and there's gazillions of people involved. If you're opening a business, you've got a lot of different people involved. And so in either of those, you do have checklists. And if you're doing a business, a brick and mortar business, you have a profit and loss sheet. You have the logic, the mindset, you have the checklist of what things need to be done. And usually you have a time frame for things. If you're planning a vacation, the same thing. You have a budget, you need to make sure the house is taken care of, bills are paid on time, the right money's there, you're all set up for a wonderful trip. So it's all the same logical formulas, just most of us haven't learned how to apply them for spiritual growth or personal desire or stretching our consciousness into more good, right? So proactive, first things first, win-win. And then you want to think about, so we already had end in mind, so that's 4. Let's see if I can remember them all. So that's 4. Seek to understand. Now this one comes under, because it's a big picture, that would be, if you guys were with us and we did the series Emotional Intelligence. So seek to understand where you are. Seek to understand how much work do you need to do? How much do you need to schedule? How much logistics do you need and how much spirituality do you need? How much support do you need? Who are you going to call when you're starting to feel like it's just too hard, when you get to your set point challenge, right? So you want to seek to understand the culture, how things work today. You want to seek to understand where you are and what it is you're desiring and what it's going to take for you to get there, not just financially, mentally, but also emotionally and spiritually. You want to seek to understand so that anybody involved with you is in this win-win energy, right? It's not about you getting anything from anybody. It's about you being a creative blessing to yourself and others. That's the energy where you manifest really quickly because you're supported. You're speaking the language of divine intelligence. Okay? So remember, all these principles aren't all separate chunks. They work when you run through all 7 all the time. Right? What was the one you just said, Alan? Sharpen the saw. This would be, remember, and then the last one's synergy. Remember, if your consciousness matched it, you'd already have whatever it is you desire. So sharpen the saw means how often are you going to keep seeking new information to stretch, right? It's a matter of getting the mind understanding more and more so that even a simple complex, even a simple goal feels normal and natural to you. And that never happens quick. The easiest, all of it's easy. Pick love, not fear, right? Feel connected, not separate. Use principle-based thinking, don't be reactive. It's all real simple concepts, and yet because we are so complex, so many levels and layers to us, we have to get the same teaching, the same idea. We have to keep expanding our perspective from many different ways, and then we end up in mastery and it seems simple. But at first it seems overwhelming, hence the checklist. So you can see where you need to fine tune, right? So sharpen the saw. So I've been working on my fascia, I'm sure I've said that before, it's 2.5 years now, and I am symmetrical, and I have a lot more fluid and movement, and my fascia is learning to rehydrate itself. It's very exciting. So what did I do to get from the rigid, pain, limited place I was 2.5 years ago? I just made it a habit. Every week I would research fascia. And in the beginning it was so overwhelming, and then now I have a new understanding of it and a different understanding of my body. Right? And that's how we learn anything. You know, first time you buy a car or a house. Actually, I still feel overwhelmed when I shop insurance. I haven't expanded my consciousness on that. So, you know, it's just part of it. So you want to know. So sharpen the saw. Now remember, in this alignment, we're talking the human grunt work. So like sharpen the saw, you want a tangible, physical, written schedule. Okay? Why is that? Because I also teach, and we'll go into this next week, I also teach you utilize all the bodies. The egoic body is only here to weigh, measure, and compare. The ego can evolve with us today to serve our highest good. And so you want it to support you. If you do not give the ego a valid job and a valid place in your expanding your consciousness, it will limit you. It will hold you back. It's just like a child. Engage them appropriately and you will have a better experience. Ignore them or don't set them up for success. It's not very pleasant, right? So you want to really have written accountability for the different steps of physical alignment. Again, in anything that you're doing with other people, you would have this. If it's a project at work, you have other people participating. My husband's designing the most amazing patio for us, and he has blueprints, and he's thinking like what goes first, and when do you do this, and how do you do that? So all that's going on all the time. What's no different when it's a personal target for us, right? Okay, and then synergy. This is creating something that didn't before exist. Now, in Covey's book, he's talking about it in corporate setting, but it can also be, synergy can be with the creator. It can be with your own relationship with yourself. It could be in your interactions with any other person or group or organization. Where do you bring your strengths to the table and interact well with other strengths to create something that didn't exist when the two of you were separate, right? So again, you can see it's not separate. It ties into the win-win mentality. It ties into seeking to understand. Where can I be blessed by others? You might want to consider the term, don't reinvent the wheel. Who's done what you want? Are there books on it? Are there teachers on it? Are there articles on it? Who's done what you want and found an easier way to do it? Right? So you see how that all ties in with synergy and sharpen the saw and seek to understand. And how are you going to set yourself up for success? Okay? I see a lot of minds working. Okay, so that's on the alignment with principle-based thinking, and then next week we'll pull it in with the bodies. Okay? All right, so I'll see everybody in a week. Have a wonderful Halloween and happy fall, I guess. November's coming. I did like driving here in the light, and I know soon it'll be dark. Yeah.